I have been in marketing and communication since I graduated. My particular interest is in brand development and promotion side of marketing. So I've done PR, advertising, and events. So that's my specialty and my preference when it comes to the marketing environment. I've worked obviously in London. Majority of my experience is in Dubai because I was there for 12 years. And I did work with startups as well as global brands, predominantly within the luxury industry. So I've worked with high-end jewelry brands as well as hotels. So what I've done in this presentation is, and I'll share my screen while I'm talking to you. Does everybody see it? Because I struggle to see. Okay, perfect. So, so basically what I'm going to be doing is, so marketing, right? So what is marketing? So the definition of marketing, I'm sure you know this, is just kind of like a recap for this, is basically engaging with the customers. So as much as everybody likes to say it's about sales, sorry, Aya, it's not about sales, says the marketing person. It's about creating an environment that is basically from the customer's point of view. Your most important thing is your consumer. So you have to know your consumer inside out, and that's how your marketing strategies and campaigns will be successful. If you do not have your target consumer identified, then you're literally wasting money. And we all know that marketing is a furnace where you can literally spend millions, and if it's not targeted correctly, it'll be a complete waste of money and time. So if you're looking at the objectives of marketing, it is to build brand awareness. I mean, again, like I said, I'm predominantly in the promotion side, so that's what I would focus on. You would use it when you're entering markets internationally as well as locally. If you want to expand, you want to launch new products or services, targeting new consumers, you grow your market share, enhance your customer relationship. Again, if you are within the product cycle, if you've been around, you want to obviously enhance the customer relationship. You have your stakeholders as well, which is called internal communication, which is very important. And again, of course, increase sales and increase profit. So within the marketing mix, you have the product, place, price, promotion, but I'm focusing on promotion because, like I said, that's the fun bit. So promotion, what I'm going to be talking about today is my specialties, which is public relations, events, sponsorship and endorsement, and advertising. So when we're looking at promotion, we tend to think of it as visibility versus credibility. So certain activities will fall under the visibility bracket and certain other ones will fall under credibility. So why do we say that? So visibility would be something like advertising, because what you're doing is you're reminding the person, the consumer, about your brand. Credibility is more public relations because you're really using those means to provide a story behind your product or your brand. So the objectives of promotion, again, is to brand awareness, is also to brand differentiate or position. So why that's important is at the end of the day, especially nowadays, most brands, most products are very similar. So you really need to find a way of how to differentiate yourself, and that is done through marketing. Positioning. Again, we use marketing to position the brand. So if I was a startup, a lot of my clients would have been startup brands. And what I would do is I would align with another more stable, more successful brand so that I can position them. So when somebody sees my brand and goes, oh, well, they're associated with this brand, they must be similar. So that's what we mean by positioning. And obviously to create demand, essentially that's what we're doing. So one of the things is, so these are all brands that I've worked on. So I've given the examples and I can go through them with you as well, very briefly, and how to achieve them. So Tati Ocean is a masculine jewelry brand. And so with them, we would use press releases to launch products. So you can launch products through press releases as well as through events. You can do standalone press releases without an event, but usually when you do an event, you need to have PR around it. Otherwise, it'll be pointless. You need to maximize on every single activity that you do. If you have an event without PR, how are you going to spread the word? The only people who are going to know about it are the people who are there. PR also includes social media, because now that's a huge thing. So when you have your influencers coming down to an event, that's considered to be under the PR platform because you're using it to distribute information. So for Tatiosin, this would be something that we call the product feature. What we normally do is send out a press release. It's not tailored to one particular media. We would send it out with the images, and then we would try to encourage them to either print the image itself or to use a product, come and borrow a piece and put it within their product. This is what we say about credibility, because this looks like there was no effort from the PR practitioner's point of view. It was the editor who thought, oh, I love this piece, I'm going to include it in there. This is where the credibility, because you're getting endorsement from the editor or the fashion editor, whoever's responsible for the products. So for David Morris is a very well-known London jeweler they've been in around for like 60, 70 years, extremely high-end. One piece will cost up to $1.8 million. So for them, what I did for them is, this was in the UAE. They were very big in the UK, and they came and they opened a location in Dubai. So the problem with them is that 80% of their clientele was Russian at that time. And so when I met with them, that obviously caused a bit of concern, because you cannot possibly have such a large group of consumers just from one country. It just, what if God forbid something happens, it will affect their sales. So we discussed basically opening it up to the UAE and try to kind of recruit more locals and Europeans who live in the UAE, who travel, so the jet set crowd. So the first thing that we did was not so much product, it was really brand focused. We needed to reintroduce the brand, because it is well known, but we needed to reintroduce it to our market. So with PR, you can do like I've showed, you could do a product launch or product introduction also, but you can do as a brand focus. So what I did here is I would send out emails to specific publications, and I would basically just briefly introduce them and really encourage them to have, to negotiate interviews with my clients. So this is more in-depth, it's more exclusive. And again, it will just focus on the brand rather than just the product. So the other one we would talk about would be, it's going to play straight. Okay. So the other thing we can do is press conferences. So press conferences are great to just kind of bring in all the media together rather than speak to them one by one if you're launching something. So when I was with Damas is one of the regions, GCC's largest jewelry manufacturers and distributors. So one of our brands was called Farfasha, and our brand ambassador was Nancy Ajram. So for this example, I'll play it for you very quickly. We organized an event in Lebanon. So that gives it another twist, because as a person in marketing or as a person in PR, you also have to look at all the logistics that you need to do for international press as well. So it's not only are we looking at brand positioning, because Farfasha, when we identified Nancy Ajram as our ambassador, we already associated ourselves with her. So any of her traits would reflect in our brand. Obviously, we get her, she has endorsements, so we used her for the advertising campaigns. We used her for, she would be wearing it, so there's also that product placement. So I'll show you briefly what the event was, just to give you an idea of how it was in Lebanon. Works well, yeah. So you can see really here all the elements of what is required in a press conference. So it's not just putting on a little event, it's everything that comes with it. You have to have your press kits correct. Obviously they want gifts, but it is the thing that we use the press conference here is to launch our own brand. So it was us who organized the press conference, organized the media invitations, and organized everything. The other way that you can support is through supporting other brands with, event companies with your PR. So here, we did not organize the Christina Aguilera concert. It was an events company that did. What we did is we supported the event. So we created the press release. We had a press conference that we had to conceptualize and manage. We invited all the media. We had Q&A sessions, and we had exclusive interviews that were arranged with Christina Aguilera when she came down. So again, just to give you an idea of what the event would look like.
Showing him what mommy does.
It's a bit long, so I'll be very quick with it.
I love being here. I'm so thankful for all of you for welcoming me here, for being here today. Do I love the coast? Yes, it is amazing here in Abu Dhabi. So thrilled to be giving my first concert here tomorrow night. It's going to be a great show.
Good afternoon. Ginny Munzer from Dubai.tv, and I'd like to welcome you to the region. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure, and we're just as thrilled. My question for you, Christina, is you have a beautiful baby Max, your son, who's the light of your life. He was a huge inspiration for your new album. Can you give advice to me, working moms like yourself? How do you balance the...
We won't go through it, it's quite long, but if it's interesting, you can just find it on YouTube, you can see it from there. But the idea is to show you that when it comes to marketing, it doesn't necessarily just mean that you are, if you decide, if it's your own company, you can help other people as well. So it's not just necessarily, just not only your products or your brand. So this was when I had my own PR company, and that was my job, was to support other brands. So that's the other side of it. Let's see here. So then the other one that I would like to talk about is sponsorship. So different types of sponsorships. Obviously, probably know of, for example, sports events where big brands will sponsor them. So here we're looking at the Dubai International Film Festival, where David Morris, which is the big jewelry brand, sponsored. Sorry, I'm sure you can see. It was sponsored Naomi Harris, which was the actress in James Bond. And so what we did is we had to work with stylists and managers and Dubai Film Festival itself. We also sponsored what's called the Lending Lounge. So from there, we had celebrities coming in, and we got to dress them. So this, again, was a great opportunity for David Morris. Remember when I mentioned that we wanted to break into the GCC market, was to put our name and associate our names with high-end actors and actresses. And actually, one of the actresses, I think it was Yasmina Rais, she won Best Actress at that time, and she was wearing the David Morris pieces. So that was quite lucky for us. Another way that we sponsored through Damas is from films, movie sponsorship. So Damas Jewelry acted as a sponsor, and also what we did is we used this as a platform to basically have product placement, which is really quite interesting concept, where we created a ring specifically and designed the ring specifically for this movie, and it was in the movie throughout because the whole movie was based on the ring. So again, that gave us exposure, that gave us positioning, that gave us enhancing our clients, reminding our clients and potential clients that we are here. So that was a great thing to do as well for there. So now looking at advertising. So we have obviously different types of advertising. You have print, you have TV, and you have digital. This is a print advertising for Tatiosian. So basically, this is very simple. We created the artwork, we buy the space in the magazine, and then we place it there. So it's quite a straightforward way of doing advertising. Now, if you think about the print media landscape, obviously that is dying and the digital is taking over. So when you're creating any sort of advertisement, you have to really think of that as well. So you have to think about the digital, you look at the traffic that the magazine is attracting to it, and what kind of advertising you want to do. Do you want to do it as a native advertising, which basically looks like an article, it's called an editorial, or do you want it to be as a page in one of the digital magazines? So these are the options that you would have. So one of the advertising campaigns that we did, which is a TV advertisement, was for Avani. Now this case study is particularly interesting because Damas wanted to, we were looking at our clientele. Again, going back to the consumer and your customer as the main, as the main focal point, we were looking at our customers and our sales of Indian jewelry. That's jewelry that's specifically made for the Indian market. And we realized that that the North Indians were not really buying our pieces. It was mostly the Southern Indians that were buying our pieces, and we didn't understand why that was. So what we did is we did a market research, and we realized that the Northern Indians did not like the designs that we were creating. It wasn't their style. So we decided to take that information and create a focus group, which is bringing in a select group of people, which is mostly our clients, and just showing them different designs, trying to understand their tastes, and then creating a whole line that we called Avani. From that, we identified a North Indian actress and we made her our ambassador. And we went to India and we shot the whole commercial there. Obviously, like I said, when you do something like this, you need to really have strong PR around it so that it, you know, the message is kind of going further than just the people who watch it. So this is a commercial.